Arch choosing Texas. I mean, how surprising was this?
Only moderately surprising. What Kirk mentioned is right. Talking to people close to Arch and also people who've worked with him, the relationship with Sarkisian was huge and has been there from his days as a coordinator at Alabama and carried over to Texas. But what I had thought, and from hearing things in recent weeks, is that Georgia had sort of turned the tide, so to speak, and I expected that he would go to Georgia, but I guess the relationship with Sarkisian carried the day. And I think with Molly and Stephen A., I think with
Mhm.
any other player, I would say, yeah, don't think this is over for Georgia. Let's see how Texas does. Remember, Texas had a 6-game losing streak that included a loss to Kansas this past year. Let's see how it goes. But because of that word as a bond thing that you get with the Mannings, which is very admirable, and the fact that Arch has handled this recruitment just like a pro, I think it's really, really solid, and I think he'll play his college football at Texas.
Rece, let me sound a little corny here for a second before I ask you my next question. I want to give major props to the Mannings. I'm talking about the whole Manning family. For people who haven't dealt with them, let me emphasize they're always first class. All of them. Peyton, Cooper, Eli, Archie. I interviewed his wife, Archie Manning's wife one time, Mrs. Manning, the matriarch of the family. They are just absolutely wonderful people. So I just want to say that. And I'm looking at this kid, Arch Manning. And I got to ask you, because Sarkisian was 5-7 last year, but I ain't holding that against him. We all know COVID and everything else that's been going on. It's just a lot to deal with. That was his first year at Texas. I was surprised, however, that you decided to go to the Big 12 instead of the SEC. Your comments about that?
Well, I think we don't know how long it'll be. We know when Texas is supposed to move to the SEC, but it could come earlier. And I think, certainly by the time that Arch is entrenched, it might only be 1 year, but you know how these things go, Stephen. He could wind up playing a couple of years in the SEC, depending on how it unfolds.
Right.
But, I echo your sentiments completely about the Mannings. Archie Manning, when I was a kid, and Archie and I have become friends, so he probably doesn't like for me to point out that I watched him play when I was a kid, but he was my favorite professional athlete growing up. So I have a great affinity for the Manning family, and they have handled everything in a first-class manner. Their ties to the SEC are deep, and I think even with the relationship with Sarkisian, my gut tells me that if Texas weren't going to the SEC at some point in Arch's career, he might have made a different decision, but I think that certainly impacted it.
Break down this from an evaluation standpoint. Let's talk about Arch Manning. How good is this kid? I mean, I know he's high school. I mean, you're going to college. We're going to see what you got. He's a Manning. That comes with huge expectations. What do they say about him?
He's got a great release. He's got an outstanding arm, and he sees the field as you would expect someone with his pedigree to do. The one thing that people might not know, because Cooper, his dad, was injured when he was a player at Ole Miss. He was a wide receiver and an excellent athlete. And Arch, as you're seeing some of the tape there, can move. Peyton and Eli were not noted as runners, and it's not like Arch would be a guy who could go to Navy and run the triple option, but he can certainly move. He can throw on the move. He's got great awareness. People who've worked with him as quarterback coaches would just rave about his ability to see things, his release. Certainly, as a young guy, he's going to get stronger. He's going to get some of that grown man strength in addition to the weight room strength that I think is going to make his arm even more explosive. I mean, obviously, there's nothing but limitless potential for Arch Manning.
When I think about Texas, I mean, obviously, Texas is, they've got some history. They're the Longhorns are the Longhorns. We understand that. I think Austin, Texas, I think it's a phenomenal town. I mean, that's a great place to go to college. Let me be very clear about that. They've dropped off a little bit in years, up and down, to say the least, or whatever. What's been the reason for that in your estimation?
They've gotten a little complacent, and they've sort of rested on some of those laurels and some of the reputation. And it's been a thing that I think several coaches have had to try to fight against, a feeling of, well, we're Texas, this is supposed to happen. I don't think it's the case now, but for a while they'd fallen a little bit behind on facilities. There are some other things that some coaches will tell you, that their proliferation of 7-on-7 and spread offenses has made it less likely or a little more difficult to find as many big, strong, physical players. In Texas, there are still certainly plenty of them, but that the style of football has impacted them a little bit. I don't think any of those things would be like the reason, but it's sort of like all of those little factors have come together. You get a little bit of malaise that they've had trouble breaking out of through several coaches, and they have to sort of earn their way back to that type of stage. And certainly, they blew a lot of second half leads last year. They had the losing streak. They had the embarrassing loss to Kansas, which I don't mean to disparage Kansas. I mean, they certainly improved last year, but they had no business beating Texas, and they did. So, all those things, I think that Texas has been humbled, and we'll find out if they're hungry enough to win big on the stage, on the big stages coming up.
Yeah, giant leap in the right direction.
Before you ask Rece this next question, just so the audience to know, Texas, we talk about, where Vince Young won a national title over UFC. With the exception of 2020, they've had at least 4 losses in a season every single year since 2010.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, they'll have to figure it out, especially projected to join the SEC in 2025. Oklahoma as well. Rece, I want to get back to the decision, though. What role do you think NIL may have played in his decision to go to Texas?
Not any. I don't think. Now, he's going to be very marketable, but I don't think that's the way the Manning family, Stephen A. talked about earlier. I don't really think that's how they roll. Arch is going to have, they don't have to. That's true. And that's fine. They chose to handle this recruitment sort of in an old school manner. And there will be plenty of opportunities for Arch after he plays well. I mean, I don't think it played a really big role.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.